What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Build Back Podcast. I'm your host, Maximus Ramiger, and today's a solo one. And I've been sitting on this episode for a couple of weeks because honestly, I wasn't really sure what I wanted to share, how much I wanted to share, because July was one of the hardest months that I've had in a long time, mentally, physically, emotionally. And when you look at it from the outside, you follow me on Instagram or any kind of social media, you look at where I live. If you look at the surface of things, like, you'd never know I'm struggling with something like this. Life looks great. I'm in Bali with my girlfriend. I'm surrounded by amazing people. Business is running. Finally got the podcast up. I'm in the best shape of my life. But inside, and a lot of things going on in my life just felt like a fucking storm. And really what got me out of it, it wasn't a hack. It wasn't a supplement. It wasn't just some crazy mindset trick that I read on a Notes app screenshot. Like, it was a mentor calling me out, return to my faith, and very one simple principle that I try to practice and preach myself, that I am human and I struggle with, but I teach my clients all the time. And that is the one thing that I want you to walk away with today. And I think it is the single most important thing that anyone stuck in a rut needs to hear. But let's get into it. So going into July, like, man, it just felt like a lot of things were burning. And I'm going to be very careful about my language here, because that's one of the biggest topics that I want to talk about, is just the reality of the language that we speak into this world. And I really want anyone listening to this that's going through a hard time, or maybe just coming out on the back end of one, or just feels like you haven't really got out of it, this is going to be the episode for you, because I want to talk about how I'm able to navigate through these different things. Because obviously this isn't the first month that I've had in my life where I've struggled with some different things, but just like looking at the reality, like in the business, a lot of things were going wrong. There were some issues with employees. I just wasn't really resonating with my content like I used to. I've, kind of pigeonholed myself. I've amassed over 350,000 followers, which is pretty fucking cool across all my platforms, but I just don't feel authentic to the content that I was creating. It obviously isn't hitting like it once was, and the ignorance of me trying new things has just been kind of stagnant in that department. A lot of like really heavy family stuff come into it, and it just forced me into forgiveness. I really got deeper into my faith, and really just my internal state through all of this, through all the struggles through my business with employees, you know, all the shit, man. It was just really making me feel numb, distraught, just if you know me personally, like, I have a pretty blank face. Like, it looks like I don't have a lot of emotion going on, but like deep down I am actually pretty happy most of the time. But like, I really didn't feel a lot of emotions in the month of July, other than frustration, anger, just not being happy. I just felt like there was a heavy fucking backpack on me, man, that I just couldn't get off. But the reason why I'm making this podcast today is because I was on a call with my mentor Brian this morning, and I'm like talking to Brian, which kind of turned into a mini rant. And it was like, storm this, that's burning, this is fucked, everything's going to shit. And he kind of like interjected, and I'm someone that really likes direct feedback. I always ask my clients if they're okay with directness or not, and I always like to tailor my teaching and mentoring to them. But in terms of my mentors, like, I'm paying thousands and thousands of dollars for these people to coach and mentor me. And I've been with Brian for quite some time now, so he knows me pretty well. And he was like, hey man, like, do you mind if I'm just really direct with you? And I was like, of course, dude, I probably need to hear this. And he asked me some very direct questions, just like, always in times of doubt and in turmoil, and when things are going on, I try my best to zoom out. Where were you last year? What were you doing last year at this time? What are you doing now? Where are you living? And like, he's asking me these questions to get me to zoom out, to look at things from like a 10,000 foot down view. And he was like, exactly. Now shut the fuck up and listen. And like, you might be like, oh my gosh, that's really aggressive, but like, I need to hear this shit sometimes. And he was really just essentially putting a mirror in front of my face. He was asking me, like, do you actually hear the language that you're using right now? Like, that was a fucking gut punch. Like, cause I really started to zoom out and think about, like, holy fuck, like, I felt really guilty that I was like, putting this energy into the call. I just felt really embarrassed that I teach and I preach this and I understand mindset on a very deep level, but I still struggle with it. I'm still fucking human, man. I just felt so embarrassed because I was just replaying every word that I said and everything that I went through. And it really made me think, like, holy fuck, the entire month of July that I've been thinking and I've been speaking all of this negative energy and language out into the universe and just into life. And having him hold that mirror up to me really just kind of, gave me a realization that, I teach and preach this shit to my girlfriend, to my clients, to people I care about, my family members, about the language you speak and how you show up every day. But then when I took a step back and like audited myself, I just kind of realized I was forgetting to live what I'm teaching in the month of July, not in terms of fitness or everything. Like, everything else has been dialed in, but like, my mindset really, really took a hit. And you know, zooming out is such an important practice, like especially for high achievers who are often the worst at applying their own advice that they give to them, to others, to themselves. Like we see it clearly in everyone else. I can look at other people's businesses. Obviously, I look at other people's fitness, their health, and everything that they going on. And it's just very clear to me like how to map out roadmaps and like what do we need to do to fix? Where's the bottleneck? What needs to change? What kind of actions do we need to do to fix this? But an analogy and kind of just a way of thinking. I'm not a neuroscientist by any means, but I listen to a lot of personal development stuff. Dr. Joe Dispenza, he is an absolute legend. And one thing that I've learned through diving into this and understanding like what's happening on a neurological level is that your subconscious mind wants to be right, not true. And the easiest way that I can kind of break this down that I think everyone can relate to is when you're having a nightmare, some sort of a dream, like, someone's chasing you down. It feels like you're about to die, or like a shark's about to eat you. You're about to fall off a cliff, and you're like obviously dead asleep, and you like wake up and you're like, holy fuck. And then, maybe your heart's pumping, maybe you're sweating, you're very agitated, you're disoriented, you don't know where you are. And then you realize like, holy shit, like, okay, I'm not falling off a cliff. A shark's not about to eat me. And the reason that your body responded this way is while you were asleep, your subconscious mind believed that that was your true reality. Like reality doesn't matter, beliefs matter. So this kind of works the same exact way with the words that we speak every single day is like, oh, this is going to shit. Everything's burning. Like what's going to happen in this moment and these repetitive moments when you get caught in these negative loops and thought patterns is that your subconscious mind is going to look for actions that attract things to prove itself right. So if you're always saying negative things, oh, I'm never going to get through this. Oh, I suck. Or, oh, I'm overweight. Oh, I've never been able to do this. It's like, that's the kind of words, the language, the thoughts that you are just repeating over and over and over. And due to the fact that your subconscious mind wants to be right, it is then going to seek actions out. And, this is where manifestation comes into play. I know a lot of people are against this, not into the woo woo shit, but I cannot wait to dive deeper into this in the podcast in different episodes and like my spiritual journey, my faith, and all the things that I believe in and things that have truly transformed my life. But a big thing that I've learned from Dr. Joe Dispenza is that neurons that fire together wire together. So if these neurons are constantly firing in this negative pattern, you can't speak your way into a life that you want, I should say, if you don't own the language of it. Like you need external accountability to see what you can't. And that's why I love mentors. That's why I have a coach. I have multiple mentors in my business. I surround myself with successful people that are doing better than me in every facet of life. So I can absorb their energy and I can understand how other people operate. One of the biggest things in the month of July that I'm extremely grateful for was how much closer I got to God in my return to faith this year. I made a commitment at the start of the year. I'm not a big January 1 New Year's resolution guy, but I set an intention. I like to call them more intentions rather than resolutions, that I wanted to get back into the faith. Like I grew up in the church, going to church on the weekends. I went to catechism when I was younger. I got confirmed, but I was more of just kind of like a casual believer. Not that I've ever doubted that God's real or I've doubted my faith, but I was never just truly fully immersed, fully into it. And, it's been a very long time since I've like got back into my faith. I've been saying it for years and years and years. Like, got to get back to it. I still pray and I do the different things. And this is just me being vulnerable of like my walk with God and walk in faith. But it's been kind of up and down like this year, specifically after I set that intention until I got back to Bali at the end of June. And it's a 52-week Bible study. So like every single morning when I get up, I have like a morning routine. I'll definitely do a podcast on this because I'm so bullish on, early rise and morning routines. But my routine in the morning is I have a Jesus Calling book. You open it up, there's kind of a passage, and 9 times out of 10, it's very relative to what I have going on in the moment. And then I open up my study book where it picks a verse. It tells me, all right, go to this chapter, read these verses. And then it asks me a question, and then I have to reflect and journal. And I'm such a firm believer that everything happens at the right time for the right reason. And I was getting lots of reminders of surrendering and trusting timelines. Like I set very outlandish and very bullish goals, and I'm very confident in myself in achieving them. But then when I set these goals so high, set the bar so high, like having the high performer mindset of just wanting to do so good in every aspect of my life, when I don't always hit those milestones in my way, I get frustrated, I get discouraged, and I get in these like mental dichotomies of just like, what the fuck is going on here? But it's like, so I do the Jesus Calling. I open up my 52, week study there. I just do like a brain dump actual journey. And then I go do a little 10-minute meditation or maybe like a 15-minute walk. But like the reoccurring theme that I saw time and time and time again in July was surrendering. That there was so much frustration in my life because I'm trying to force all these different timelines. And I think this is so applicable in so many different aspects of life and fitness specifically. Like, you never really know how much you have to lose or how long it's going to take your goals until you get in the middle of it, where you may go into the journey thinking like, oh, I can definitely get this done in 3 months, or oh, I can definitely get this done sooner than that. And then you realize that it's not going to happen. And then you get frustrated because you're not losing weight as fast as you want to, or you're not doing that as quickly as you would like to. And, I just really started to realize that like I truly was forcing the timelines, that I was trying to speed up time on my own. And that is just my ego. That's just me wanting to control things. That's just me being a fucking guy and just wanting to grab life by the balls and be able to take it. Um, but like really learning to surrender to God's plan and like trusting that I'm being led to where I need to and I will get there exactly when I need to was the exact reminders that I needed to hear constantly through July. But I just really struggled to pull myself out of it. But as much as I struggle to pull myself out of the quote unquote storm, I don't even like saying that word out loud anymore, but I'm doing it for the sense of the podcast to give perspective that faith is not a magic fix. Like, it's a stabilizer. And I think it's like a daily reset for me, that it's like, it just truly gives me perspective. And it's been so nice to get back into my faith and to just ground myself and center myself and realize that I am here for a greater purpose. Like, I truly feel deep down that God put me on this earth to make a massive impact. And that's exactly why I'm so hard on myself. I set so many crazy goals because I want to help so many people. And then when I don't get there quite on like my timeline is when I start to mentally self spiral. And in the pursuit of this, when Brian calls me up, I zoom out and like I'm really looking at life from a 10,000-foot view. I always come back to one of my favorite analogies that I share with clients and I share with anyone is like, I like to call this a consistency receipts, like really slowing down. And the way that I look at this is like every action that you do in life, you're collecting some sort of a receipt from it, some sort of proof, the cause and the effect. You do something, something happens as a return of that. And, every promise you keep, you say you're going to do something and you do it, it's a good receipt. But then every time that you say you're going to do something, you set a goal, you set a New Year's resolution, you say you want to lose weight, you say you want to change your mindset, but then you don't do it, that is a bad receipt. There's good receipts, there's bad receipts. And you honestly are the sum of your receipts, like not your intentions. Like, your intentions could be great, but your actions could be shit. And then you just collect all these bad receipts. And most people that fail in life that I've seen personally, just through, my life experience, people that I know, people that I see in fitness from afar and close, like, they've just got so many years of bad receipts of all of this inconsistency on the left and only 3 good ones on the right. And then subconsciously what ends up happening there is like the receipts on the left, the bad receipts, becomes your identity. Like, you just start to associate yourself with the person that doesn't follow through, that doesn't keep their intentions, that sets all these goals that don't mean shit because you never take them serious to actually follow through. And what ends up happening there, to go back to what I was talking about before, is your subconscious mind is going to attract more failure because that is what you are so focused on. You think that because of all this failure, because of all of these missed opportunities, because of all these things that haven't happened the way that you wanted, you just have such a massive stack of receipts in that aspect of, I'm never going to be this person. And then it's like that comes the language. So then your subconscious mind is wanting to find the actions that are going to pull that out. And the only way to pull yourself out of this situation is to stack one receipt at a time. It can be very daunting to think right now in this current situation, if you are not happy with how you look, how you feel, your relationship, your finances, everything that's going on in your life, it can be hard to see the gap and close it from where you are to where you'd like to be. But the only way that you can ever truly start closing that gap is just stacking one good receipt at a time, and then another, and then another. Like, a couple examples of this. This fitness is my job. Like, fitness, health, macros, that is everything. I eat, sleep, and breathe it. And there are still days that I don't want to go to the gym, but I force myself to do it because I always feel good afterwards. But right there, that is a receipt. You just collected a receipt of doing something hard when you said you didn't want to. You do this time and time again with your fitness. Oh man, tracking my macros, I just don't want to do it today. And then you do it, you collect that receipt. Doing all these different things, like saying, hey, I'm done scrolling at 8 p.m., 9 p.m., whatever it is. You do it, boom, another receipt. I'm going to get up at 4 a.m. You get up, you don't snooze your alarm, boom, another receipt. And then it's like, boom, you do it, another receipt. Like, it's not sexy, it's not fast, but this is what is eventually going to flip your identity over time. And then everything downstream flips with it. Like, in the recap of July, like, I was drowning because I was stopping the receipt stacking. Like, my routine slipped a little bit, my discipline slipped a little bit, and what really slipped with my language. Like, and the way out wasn't dramatic. It was just like becoming more conscious. Like, instead of like being stuck in the unknowing of the unknown, I started becoming knowing of the unknown. And now I'm stuck in getting back into knowing the knowing. I was just in the midst of like, fuck, like, I don't know what's going on. Like, it just felt like everything was crashing and burning. Um, and to really kind of close this off, I want to talk just very specifically on the language aspect. And I see this all the time with clients. One of the biggest hesitations that I see from people is limiting beliefs, that they don't believe in themselves enough to make this happen because of all of these receipts. You've got years and years of experience. Now, like, I just did a podcast with my client, Joseph. He talked about he was stuck for 10 years, 10 years of his life, hating how he looked, hating his energy, hating how his clothes felt. Everything in life just was not great. He was over 300 pounds. Just life was not how he wanted it to be. But if you think about that, 10 years of collecting bad receipts, you know how fucking hard it is for you mentally to just kind of pull yourself out of that and be like, oh man, like, this is going to be easy. This is going to happen overnight. Like, it's really fucking hard to pull yourself out of a major hole like that when you have so many receipts. And it's like the language that you guys speak in the aspect of that. It's like being so negative with yourself. I'm never going to be able to do this. Oh, I've tried dieting before. What's going to be different this time? I failed so many different times. Like, you just get so negative and just so caught up in the grind of just life because it just goes by so quick that you just start to attract more of those things. But I can promise you, when you start changing your language, you start changing the way you view yourself. I'm going to do a whole podcast just on this topic because I think it's so valuable. But if you could just get one takeaway from this podcast here today, is that the language that you speak is so fucking important. Your subconscious mind wants to be right. And if you are continuing to be negative and put all of this negative energy out in the world and all these negative words and thoughts and patterns, habits, excuses, victim mindset, it's like, unfortunately, that's just the same kind of energy and things that you're going to receive back into your life. But coming into August, I've been doing a lot of reflecting after the call with Brian. And, I realize that I'm in the driver's seat, and so are you guys. You are in the driver's seat of your life. You are the one that can take control and grab life by the balls, and you can either make of it or you can break of it. And, I'm feeling good. I'm back in the game. My faith is still locked in. I'm really watching my language and I'm stacking the receipts again. Like, I'm not perfect. Like, this podcast, Built Back, is to talk about experiences like this. I've built up, I fell off, I've built it back. And that's really what I want to teach you guys, is that through these gaps in your life, like, not every day is going to be all sunshine and rainbows. There's going to be times where you're in the shits, and that's just life. Unfortunately, life is unpredictable. Stress is inevitable. Motivation is unreliable. But I can promise you that when you start getting deeper into your personal development, that when you start checking yourself and that you are listening to the language that you are saying out loud, checking your receipts and just checking who's holding a mirror to you. The final straw was Brian really putting the mirror in front of my face. But if you don't have people in your life, go and fucking find one. Get a mentor, get a coach, talk to one of your friends, get a little bit vulnerable, talk to your partner. Just get someone in your life that cares about you so much and they want to see you win, that they are not afraid to call you out on your bullshit. Tough love is a hard thing, but nothing good in life ever comes fucking easy. And if you don't have someone in your life to check you on those different things and you're surrounded by a bunch of yes men, like, you're never going to be able to catch yourself unless you truly are that self-aware. But sometimes when you're in the thick of it, it is extremely hard. Like, I would say I'm a pretty self-aware individual. I knew that I was kind of struggling last month, but I didn't have the gumption to get myself out of it. And, this one is a little bit harder to record, just truly being vulnerable because, life isn't always great. But that's life. And I've made it a mission. I want to be vulnerable. I want to share the good, the bad, the ugly, and exactly how I get myself out of it and how I build it back and do it in real time while the emotions are high, man. So if you guys found some value today, a little bit of a shorter one, a little bit more of a vulnerable one, I'd love it if you hit that follow button, drop a rating, share it to your story. But this has been the Built Back podcast. I'm your host, Maximus Ramiger, and I will catch you on the next one. Peace.